Oh, just in time. Matt Barnes, Steven Jackson, former NBA players. They were in the association, as the kids like to say, for a long time. And they have a podcast, a very popular podcast called All the Smoke. They join us on the program. Let me start with who came up with the idea to start the podcast.
Me. Jack and I were both respectively working with ESPN and Fox at the time and getting a lot of positive feedback. But, working for those kind of networks, you got to kind of walk a straight line. And, Jack and I can walk a straight line, but we'd rather step out every once in a while. So I told him, let's try a podcast. And I didn't even really know what it was at the time. I just knew we could freely speak. He's like, what is it? I'm like, I'm not sure. He's like, but I'm in. And from there, we were off running.
But what's the goal?
I think to create a platform where we're able to tell our own stories. I think for so long, other people have told our stories, and some people have done a good job, but some people have put their spin on it. And I think for people who've actually walked in our shoes, to be able to tell our own stories is special, especially in this day and age.
Sometimes you can get that player to relax. That's the goal. But sometimes that person may not know they're kind of walking into something that could get them in trouble.
Well, I think the good thing about our platform is we come off as we wear our emotions on our sleeves. So they come in free and open because as soon as you walk into our studio, you see me and Matt being ourselves, the same people we are on and off the camera. So I think we welcome for people to come in and be their unfiltered self because that's how we live our lives. We wear our emotions on our sleeves. So, this is a platform for people to be their real selves and not the person that everybody expects them to be, being on TV or being an athlete.
Did you ever interview anybody that you didn't like when you started the interview, but liked them after the interview?
I wouldn't say didn't like. I would probably just say didn't know as well. Or even sometimes, we were actually just talking about the other day, even people we think we know well, when we actually sit down and interview, we learn so much more. But I'll say one person that I was pleasantly surprised with and didn't really understand his impact in the space was Jim Gray and his imprint in this space over, however long he's been doing it, I think 30, 40 plus years, to kind of understand, having Ali's first and last interview and everyone in between. I love that. Like, he was one of our favorite interviews, and he was, when his name came up, I'm like, Jim Gray, the interview. Yeah, okay, we could definitely do Jim Gray, but I just had a whole newfound appreciation for him once we were done talking because, the trail he set is, going to go down in history as one of the greatest to ever do it.
I call him the Forrest Gump of sports broadcasters because he's been everywhere. Like, right. you bring up a name, and the Jim Gray was there. It's like, right, Elvis at the White House and, Jim Gray was there. So, he's interviewed everybody.
Yeah, he's special.
Who came up with the title, All the Smoke?
We put a name. We opened it up to our fans to kind of think of a name. And then oddly enough, my sister came up with the name. Mm-hmm. So I don't remember, I think I was going to offer someone like $2,500 if they can come up with the name. But since my family member came up with the name, I just kind of charged it to the game. So I just gave her a hug and said thank you.
But All the Smoke is not what we think All the Smoke is, correct?
I think literally and physically. I mean, some days we're blowing it down in here. I'm not gonna lie to you, Dan, and I could barely see my counterpart. But for the most part, I think All the Smoke has several different meanings, and I just think it's kind of an unfiltered view of information we're bringing you. So we're bringing you a lot of smoke, all the smoke, however you want to say it. So I guess there's a couple different meanings for it, but we cover each of them.
Steven, are you better high when you're interviewing?
Dan, I'm never not high.
Okay. Even now.
Good answer.
Even now.
Even now.
Even now.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Wake and bake. You can wake and eat. You can wake and eat your edibles. We wake and bake.
Is it good to get you early in the day or later in the day?
It doesn't matter because at the end of the day, this is nothing new to us, and we don't do things for people or to be positive or to be popular. These are things that we've been doing our whole career to keep us active, to keep us sane, to be able to make it through, the ups and downs of life. And this is has worked for us. This is what they say: if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And it works for me.
Let me add to that though, Dan. I would say it's better to get Jack early because I've caught him. If we have 3 interviews, sometimes I have to elbow him. Sometimes I catch him nodding off mid-interview. So I would say get Jack earlier than later.
It's called All the Smoke with Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson. What's the first question you would ask Paul Pierce if you had him on?
We've had him.
Yeah, we had Paul already.
Well, not lately.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I wouldn't ask him nothing because he's not doing nothing that nobody don't do. I think just the fact that it was on camera, that and people wanna judge him for it, but that's done everywhere. It's just that all athletes do it. It's just not on camera. So for people to just judge him for having fun and having a good time, yeah, it shouldn't have been on camera. Yeah, you got to be more private what you do when you represent what I'm looking for, a company like ESPN. But at the same time, all players do it, and Disney. But hey,
that's what you said.
People that work at Disney do it. They're just not on camera.
Well, I think that kind of goes back to what I said earlier, Dan, about, Jack and I being able to walk that straight line, but sometimes we like to step off that line. And, we've done everything pretty much you saw in Paul's video, but it hasn't been on camera, you know what I mean? And we don't want to speak for other people, but we know other people do it too. I just think it was a combination of all of it on camera. And it being Disney, it was a little hard. So I was actually surprised. I had spoke to someone who worked at ESPN that night. I was like, yo, is Paul going to be okay? And, and the person's like, they don't like what he did, but, I'm not sure if there's much they can do. And then, a day later, he's fired. So it's very unfortunate. We're big fans of Paul, and we know he'll land on his feet. But you just got to kind of be careful this day and age, I guess.
What's the biggest tab you guys put up at a club?
Ooh, I like 20,000.
20,000?
But see, what you got to realize though, when we go to clubs, the teams I've been on, the teams we've been on, we all go out as a team. So that 20,000 has been broke down between 10 millionaires. So it's really not that much money. We always together.
We had a situation in New York not too long ago where we got the company card and did a little bit of damage on it. Just myself and Jack and a couple people buying everyone shots in the restaurant.
How much? How much, Matt?
Man, what was it? I don't know. I don't know if we want to say it out loud because Brian's right here. Yeah,
5K.
Yeah, a dinner for 2 or dinner for 3 ended up costing $5,000 that night. So we had a little bit of fun.
What's the one question you would want to ask Michael Jordan?
Oh man.
I think I would want to ask him to come on our show.
This is a good one. I like that.
That was a good one, right?
You are high, Steven. No, that's not a good question. You want to ask him.
That's a great question.
I need the second question then.
I think
nothing's more important than him coming on our show right now.
First and foremost.
Sorry, Dan.
I would like to ask him. I've seen him. He's kind of opened up a little bit more in the last maybe 2, 3, 4 years, and I think really since Kobe's passing. His speech at the funeral was incredible, and what he brought to that moment was incredible. And just kind of ask him, is seeing Kobe do it, being more open, being one of the most more open superstars, does that encourage him to do it a little more? Because he's someone we've always kind of wanted to know what is like behind the scenes. I think his doc, Last Dance, I think the Last Dance really let us into a side of Mike we've never been able to see because, social media and cameras weren't around back then. And he's one of, a lot of people's favorite player. So we like to kind of see a little bit more behind the scenes. Obviously, we want to respect his privacy, and he's not that type of person, we understand. But I think, the last few years we've been kind of seeing him open up more and more, and we just like that to continue.
And it was kind of interesting, too, that you and Kobe started out as adversaries and then grew closer because of one moment there.
Right.
Which I don't know how often that happens, but, you have the flinch and then all of a sudden, you guys eventually become very good friends.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that was Kobe and myself kind of started. I met him in 98 when I went to UCLA. Him coming to LA at 18, he was young and he was around UCLA all the time. So, we'd see him. He'd be playing pickup games with us in the summertime. He would work out in Poly. I would sneak back in and watch him train. So it kind of just became like wow, okay, I'm going to have to eventually guard someone like this one day to eventually make in the league. And then just respecting each other, knowing every time, we played each other. I really looked forward to it. And then, it kind of came to a head in Orlando in 2010 with the ball fake. And then after that season, he called me up and literally said, anyone crazy enough to with me is crazy enough to play with me. Do you want to be a Laker? and literally 3 days later, I was a Laker. So we went from opponents to teammates to brothers, because we were both going through a lot of stuff off the court that season. So we were bonding on and off the court, going to dinner, hanging out, spending time together. And I got a chance to really know him as a person, not just the basketball player.
You guys have had some great interviews. Even when you had Calvin Johnson on, that his nickname was Butterfingers in high school. And
crazy, right? And then, imagine that.
I know. And then Steven basically said, how do you get from Butterfingers to Megatron?
Megatron, right?
Yeah,
it's a hell of a transformation.
It was great. Yeah, you had Steve Nash, Chris Paul, Durant. Do you guys have Visine as a sponsor? I was wondering about that. That'd be something good that maybe you should have.
That's not a bad idea. Hey, that's a good idea. You might be onto something there, Dan. We're gonna have our internal team hit them up.
Steven, if you were playing and you're a free agent, and you had to pick the Nets or the Lakers to play for, who would you play for?
Nets.
The Nets.
Yes.
Because?
Easy. I'm good friends with Kyrie. I'm more of a fan of KD than anybody, and Kyrie than anybody. I love LeBron. I would love to play with him. It's hard to say not play with LeBron, but I have a relationship with those guys in Brooklyn, so I'm more of a loyal guy than a fan.
What about you, Matt?
I would say Lakers. I'm a California guy. Got a chance to, run with them with Kobe, and we didn't get it done. So I would love to try to run it back with LeBron and them and try to get a ring as a Laker.
Who's the better player between you two right now?
Me by far.
By far?
Yes, by far.
I don't play basketball.
He ain't played in I don't know how long.
4 years. Yeah, I don't play basketball anymore.
I'm the all-time leading scorer in the Big Three.
I got him a trophy for that too.
Where is that trophy from the Big Three?
I haven't got it yet.
I threw it in the garbage.
Good luck with the show, and great to talk to you guys. And I'm glad that you found something that is missing, and that is an opportunity for somebody to walk in there, and it's almost like a safe space that walking in and you guys identify, you understand, and when you ask a question, it's like this is your version of the barbershop.
Absolutely,
it's the smoke shop.
That's what we wanted to create. It wasn't so much a stick a microphone in your face interview situation. We wanted to create, kind of like a man cave situation where there's no cameras. If there was no cameras, how would a conversation go? And that's what we tried to create, and we've been able to do that. So we appreciate that, and we definitely need you on the show when you get some time.
Yes, sir.
What kind of questions are we getting, though?
We're gonna get all kinds of questions. You just got to make sure you eat a couple edibles before you come.
Hey, you were one of the first guys
to interview us.
Well, not only that, but you said the blueprint of how to build your own and step away from the norm and stand on your own. So you a blueprint to us. So we appreciate being on your show, and we got to have you on our show so you can give us some game.
I would love to. I never was high on SportsCenter. Okay, not as far as you know. Not as far as you know. I was never high. I may have acted like that, but I was not. Matt,
classic.
Steven, thank you, and good luck, guys.
Thank you.
Take care.
Appreciate it, Dan.
Thank you so much, Dan.